Yeah, so I started Defigo with Christopher, our CTO, in 2017. The idea was to make accessibility to apartment buildings easier. So we saw that a lot of people would have smart locks on their doors into the apartments, but they were lacking the ability to get into the apartment as well in the same easy way through without a key, really. So that was sort of the goal. We started off as a doorbell. The company was actually called Ding Dong at the time. It sort of escalated from there. We were in touch with some investors. They thought it was, and I can quote one investor, it's a very boring idea, but still kind of interesting. So we added on new features and developed the product. So it's now in its fifth generation. We're finishing up the sixth one now. So we're basically doing the same thing we did before. It's opening doors through using your phone or an access card and making it easy for the people to manage the buildings or operates the buildings or the people living or working there. The last years we've been working through partners, so that's what we do in Norway mainly, and on export we only do partners. So in the US, which is our main growth market, we only do sales and everything through partners.
But important to mention that it's B2B, not like.
Yeah, so two main groups are commercial real estate, so office buildings or warehouses or something like that. And of course they're B2B. And then we have customers who are and especially in Europe, it's and in New York City actually, it's cooperatives. They are a business in regards to that they have a legal entity that's a business that we sign a contract with, but they often behave like consumers. So it's a tricky market, but at the same time it's rewarding to work with. And I think the value prop that we have is very clear to these customers. The goal moving forward is really to engage the consumers more. So if you have if you count one building as a customer, and then you're able to open the door for all the people that live inside this building, then being able to offer services directly to the people. You increase your customers, right, from being one to maybe the biggest building you have is I'm trying to think, around 500 units, 500 apartments in one building, and so that means you go from one to, and then there's 1.6 people living in every building, right? So you go from 1 to 700 plus, and then you sort of increase the share of wallet in that building by a lot. And so we're definitely going, and we have a little bit of business with B2C as well, but of course B2C is harder than B2B. There's a lot of we have a lot of stories to tell, and I mean when we started working with LANARS, and I think this was in 2018, so it's actually a long time ago. I think we moved through these phases, and it's very distinct when you go from one phase to another. It's always interesting to see. The phases sort of last longer when you move more into sort of the lifespan of a startup. But in the beginning, it's often they're quite short, and it's very interesting to see and exciting to move sort of into the next phase. And it's like you move from the day to the next one. You get a funding round, or you get some strategic deal or something like that, and you move over to this next stage. So I think funding is definitely a big deal for us. We're still funded. I mean, we still get the cash from the investors. I mean, we get cash from customers as well, and we are definitely generating a lot of revenue now. But we still invest a lot in the product. Where LANARS is our most strategic partner in doing that. But I mean, the funding rounds is definitely maybe like the pivot where you're actually able to sort of, or segue maybe from one challenge to the next one. Definitely what we're doing now in the US is one of these sort of segues or transitions from one phase to another, where we're sort of moving from having most of the revenue in the Nordics to the US. Going through a lot of different companies in the start, and I mean, Defigo wasn't our first startup either, so we've been working with a lot of different companies and a lot of, I mean, everything from freelancers to bigger entities, and no one sort of fitted our mode in a way that it has to be sort of a cultural match, and especially when you're a startup, there's sort of less mass to absorb differences in a way, if there's so I don't have a number of how many companies we went through before we landed on LANARS, but it was a lot. I mean, more than 10 for sure. So we did a test with LANARS. First, we gave you guys a challenge, and you definitely managed that in a very good way. And then we started adding up to new things. So I think the reason why we stayed with you guys is, I think the Ukrainian and the Norwegian culture is a lot of the same. We're very trustworthy, or trusting, I would say, to each other. So in that way, we're more similar than Norwegians are to Swedes, for example. Swedes are a lot more structured, and they plan and they do all these things, while we're more like gun-ho, like, yeah, this is a good idea, just do it, And I feel the Ukrainians are a lot of the same way. So we a lot of times we wouldn't even have a contract. We just start on something, and then we would figure out the commercial side after. So we thought that sort of the flexibility and I wouldn't call it spontaneous, but in a way it is. This sort of attitude to, let's do this. This is fun. Let's do it. We have the same sort of attitude towards that. And that was important to us. So that was definitely a very big part of it. The other part, that the people are excellent. We have some developers on the LANARS, the core team that we have employed, that are just state of the art. It's like they could be employed at NASA or whatever, if they wanted. So these really great people, right? Super competent. The last thing I would say is sort of the loyalty, or the trust between us. That we're never worried about and I mean, in the beginning, that's a bigger part. I mean, we don't think that's not something we think about, but there's never been like a discrepancy, right? There's never been like some invoice or something that we didn't have that we didn't know, that there wasn't a good explanation or something like that. Not that we haven't argued about stuff. I mean, of course we have, but I think there's always been like this honesty behind that, and I feel for us that's important. That's how we want to run our company, and we feel that LANARS have sort of the same attitude towards that. So that's the third sort of reason why we feel confident and moving forward with LANARS.
Very good to hear.
It's true. So when the war started, everyone was super worried. Investors were worried. The board members were worried. How is this going to turn out? And of course, there's been some, especially in the beginning, there were some things we needed sort of to adapt to. But I think basically everyone, instead of going to the office, they went home and they said, damn, I'm going to, get this done, and they worked even harder than before. So it's of course there's always this about having people in the office and having your own employees, but there's a lot of negative sides to that as well, right? You don't have the flexibility, you're not able to scale, you don't have the access to the pool of resources and competence that you have in a consulting company. I think the mix is very good, and the ability that you guys have shown to sort of adapt to the situation, that is as extreme as it gets. It doesn't get any worse. And for us as well, that you're able to deliver on this even in these extreme circumstances. So the Norwegian market is, and I mean even the Scandic market is very small. Norwegian market for Defigo is probably around 400 or 500 units, new customers per year, which is what we do today and been doing for quite a while. We don't really expect to grow anymore in Norway. Sweden is twice the market size. So we needed to find a market that was big enough for us to grow, and you know, there's a lot of reasons why we chose the US actually. I don't need to go into detail, but I mean the size of the market is of course one of them, and that it's one unified market. In Europe, every city is basically a new market, so you need to do the work again. Of course, doesn't mean that the big European countries aren't super interesting. They are, and we're working with them as well, but in a more organic way and through a different strategy in regards of channels and partners. But the US we've been working with the US in 2019, and then we had COVID, so we had a little bit of a break there. But the US market is very big. Their buildings are a lot bigger, so we get more revenue per unit, and then also their elasticity on prices is higher. So especially if you compare it to countries, south and east in Europe, we definitely get a higher revenue per customer. So, but it's a very competitive market. The Americans are very different from, at least from us here in the Nordic. So that's something to get used to. We have a team in the US now with salespeople and doing management. We have our own CEO there. So, but it's definitely scaling and very, very fast. It's a lot easier to grow fast in a bigger market. So we are expecting to have more, to the US to be the biggest source of revenue in just before next summer, actually. Started future plans as well. We're trying to sort of stay true to the mission that we have, making it easier to open doors. So, I mean, we definitely want to make sure that we deliver on those expectations from the customer. So we are develop a lot of new features, and we are continuously developing new features, but different packages. It's about integration. It's about package delivery, which is starting to be more of a issue than it used to be. There's in the US there's actually a home delivery every second day for every household in the US. So it's a big market as well. So we're definitely working on that. It's a lot about security, a lot about being able to balance security and ease of use at the same time, which is always tricky. I mean, it's easy to build something super secure that can't be used by anyone, but that is definitely something we do. So we're excited to see the next year what we're going to do is going to be look a little bit different, and we're also launching our the next version of our product, which is going to provide some new features as well to the customers that they're looking forward to. A lot of them come because people just think it's fun to be called by an AI. So we do that. We're going to do the same in Europe as well. It's harder in these small countries because the voice part of it is not as streamlined as it is in the US. With a Norwegian AI company that's going to do AI on the call screen. So you instead of calling a person, you're actually calling an AI, and then talking to the AI and saying, I want to visit this person in the building. And the reason why we do that is well, first of all, it's important to experiment with these sort of new technologies, but also it's a very good opportunity for accessibility, providing a good accessibility prop. So everyone wants to talk to a person when you call, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
And so the customers, they want to talk to a person, but at the same time they want to pay as little as possible. The benefit of doing the AI on the phone is that you can call 24/7, and then we're training the AI. I mean, that's the name of the game, right? Training the AI to be able to help with the basic stuff, create a ticket if there's a problem, and then there will be a person that will follow up after that. So that's what we do with AI. But I mean, there's going to be a lot of AI in all parts of this. I think this is a huge enabler, and maybe not a threat that everyone. It's just a new technology, right? It's if you don't have the team, you don't. And it's I always say that doing a startup is a team sport. You need a team. You don't want to do this alone. If you want to invest in and develop some kind of technology and supply that to a market, I think you need a really good team. And then I think for Norwegian, and this is specific to Norwegian. I mean, the Swedes, they don't have this problem. They always think internationally. In Norway, we are too focused on Norway. Norway is a good test bed. It's your home market, and it's a good test bed to get started. But if you want to grow something that's bigger than a small startup in the city of Oslo, then you need to think outside the country, and you should do that from day one. It takes an incredible amount of time to develop something to a new market. So it takes years and years. We are already thinking about the next markets after the US, not counting the European ones, and probing on that to figure out how to do that, because we know it's going to take 5, 6, 7 years before you actually get some traction from the time you start. I think those are important. And then of course it's unfortunate in Norway because the government is trying to kill startups with their taxes. So it's very hard to start a company in Norway because there's no availability of cash. Is nothing now in Norway. So that's a big problem. But I mean you have to have you have to think of your investors as partners as well, and treat them nice so that they because you will need investors to be able to do that.